right, we are live. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Hello. All right, let's get in. Just give us a second, and we'll get cooking.
How was your holiday, Travis?
It's good. Just pretty. It's nice, kind of small. We usually have a big family, but kind of I guess medium size this year. What about
You
you?
know, it's nice to have a mix of, big family get-togethers and then staying home and just enjoying the food.
Yeah, got a ton of leftovers. It's the best part.
Exactly. Don't have to cook for a few more days.
Yeah. Cool. So, anyone joining? We're gonna get cooking in less than a minute here. Just getting warmed up. I'm a little still on holiday brain. um, but we have a good episode for today. Just get the last pieces cooking here. Okay. Um, yeah, we're fully in business. Let's get started. um, almost in business. Hold on, one more thing. Okay. All right. Yeah. So welcome back to the Think Tank Live podcast. At Think, we streamline democracy so you can vote for you. Every week, we break down what's happening in politics using one simple frame: up versus down lens, not left, not right, just representation. Up means power first, where down means people first in the way we assess candidates, media, and other things in the future. Um, so the lens helps all of us see the real patterns behind shutdowns, donor deals, and the stories that never get explained clearly. You know, money and other things really dictate a lot of the direction of politics, and yet that's not the way they frame it on media and the politicians and such. Um, so you can think as a civic utility company. We're plugging citizens, trusted journalists, and underdog candidates into one coordination hub so together we can use today's rules differently and start building digital democracy, the future home for America's politics. Our goal boils down. Our goal centers around better choices, better outcomes, and one fair system where every candidate can be seen and every citizen is heard. If you want to help shape what comes next, join our newsletter to get notified when the Digital Politics Hub goes live. You'll be able to recommend voices you trust, amplify people first efforts, and help shape the future of politics. It should be launching either by the end of sometime middle to end of this month, if not definitely by the start of the new year. Um, and before we dive in, just if you could tap the heart, follow, like, share, all that good stuff really helps us out, spreads the word, makes our voice louder, so we can make your voice louder. Um, so appreciate any of that. All right, let's get into it. Um,
Yeah, something that, I was wanting to discuss and just have a general conversation was like 4 weeks ago, we heard that, Nancy Pelosi is not going to seek re-election, which is kind of a big deal considering she's been there since like the dawn of time. Just making a joke, but I've seen a meme where they're saying something like Benjamin, not Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln was swearing her in or something like that, making fun of her age. I was like, if it's true, that would just be hilarious. Like the picture that they showed, I was like, I wonder how old that was, but it was funny. But it got me to Ballotpedia, and they have an article that lays out all the people who aren't seeking reelection in 2026. And it's a good chunk of them aren't necessarily retiring. They're moving to like, a different going from Congress to senator or going to be a governor or something like that. So they're not really leaving politics, they're just shifting around. And I think it's a just an eye opener because on first glance you would see that number and think, wow, there's going to be a lot of new blood in politics after this, but not really.
yeah, that's interesting because I did see that the number is pretty high of like how many people are not seeking reelection. But like you said, if they're kind of just shifting their angles, it's not necessarily a a super positive, because in general it is positive that like for people watching, for you guys to understand that right now, like, approval ratings for these candidates are super low, like one of the lowest approval ratings in modern history in general, Congress, both parties. So having new blood is definitely a positive. If we're not happy with the current people, it's better to get new blood. New blood doesn't always mean better blood, but I'd rather roll the dice and hope to get something better. So I think in general it's good. And just in general, it just needs a shake up. It's the same people have been there for way too long, and the numbers are ridiculous. That approval ratings are one of the lowest in modern history, and yet re-election rates are like super high, like 90-95% re-election rates. So we don't approve of who is in office, but we end up re-electing them because we're just kind of trapped with this two-party system, and that's what we're trying to change. Is build a better system that gets better candidates, better outcomes. Not just one party, better Democrats, better Republicans. Viable third parties slowly, eventually. We just want candidates that truly represent the people, regardless of their background and beliefs. But yeah, so I guess it's still a negative that they're still going to exist, but Pelosi should be like fully retiring, right? Or is she like still going to be in the?
Yeah, I think she's on the list of people that are fully retiring because there's a couple different articles there that I linked to that break down like how many are fully retiring, how many are moving over to run for U.S. Senate, how many are going to governor, or even one's going to be trying to be a state attorney general. But you hit on like approval ratings, and I would think that these people who are retiring, that probably doesn't affect their reason for retiring. Like they're not retiring because they have low approval ratings. They're just retiring because they're done. They've made enough money, they're ready to go retire and probably make more money outside. That's what I'm more interested to see. What does like Pelosi, what is she gonna do next? Is she really gonna just retire, or is she gonna go like open a stockbroker place and you know?
Yeah. I mean, I always say that, like, those that are like in their 70s and stuff, it's like you sold out, you became a millionaire. Like, why still be in office? Like, just go and enjoy your money that you sold your soul for. Like, why keep going and going? Like, hand it off. Like, why do you still have to be in office if you're already made yourself a millionaire and have all this money? Like, go enjoy that money. But no, they want to hold on to the power. So yeah, I like your distinction that they're not leaving because they're their low approval ratings. It's all for selfish motivations. It's not like, oh, I should really hand this to the next stage. People are really unhappy with our generation. It's time for the next generation to take charge. Here's the power. Here's the torch. Nope, none of that. So it's funny.
Yeah. I can't
So,
remember. I had something I was going to say, and then as soon as I unmuted myself, it disappeared.
but yeah, so there's a relatively high number of people that are not seeking re-election. I mean, in general, like, there's everyone's gonna have their own varied reasons. Some of them would say that it's just because the political climate has changed so significantly. It's very different right now. It's kind of still very much up for grabs. No one really. It's not. We're not even close to settling in what the future of politics holds. We're still in the state of like the crash of the old ways, essentially. But a lot of these people, it's such a different atmosphere and climate to have to deal with than ever before. So again, either way, it's good to have new people in, just in general. There has to be new ideas, new blood, new everything. Again, that doesn't guarantee good and better, but it's a starting point to have like new people, new eyes to look at things. And ultimately what we want to do in the long run is build a platform that Americans can actually shape what the future of politics looks like, not just rely on those already in power to shape the future. We want Americans, the citizens, to actually shape the future.
Yeah, I'm just reading here. It's talking about how many incumbents announced they would not seek re-election during like a time frame. That's actually quite a bit. This is actually very interesting. A lot of people, they should go visit Ballotpedia, make sure that they dive deep into the information that they give you, because it's a rabbit hole. You get linked to one other thing and you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I just can't. There's so much information on there. I can't stress it enough that people need to take advantage of this resource that we have, because they actually like go through and like, let's say you're in a place where there's going to be a new person running, you can go and look at their profile here, and if you're lucky, they will have answered their questions. They have a lot of like a survey for the candidates to take that you can dive deep into what their stances are and stuff like that. So it's very informative.
Cool. Yeah. So what she's talking about is right now is Ballotpedia. Once we launch our coordination hub in the next few weeks, there'll be a section for references that for these kinds of resources like Ballotpedia, Open Secrets, all the different places that currently exist that kind of add transparency, helps you learn more details about these candidates. So Ballotpedia is a good one. Not flawless, but it's a good one. Our long-term goal is to build one standardized platform that Americans own that kind of encompasses all this data. But that's kind of more of the something we're working towards after this stage. But these resources will be readily available on the Coordination Hub, Digital Politics Hub that we're launching in the next month. Yeah, so there's a lot of good information like that. The incumbents that are dropping out. I mean, Pelosi's all over the news right now that she's not running, which I'm all for that. When people talk about corruption on the Democrat side, Pelosi's like the poster child on that for like insider trading and money in politics and stuff. Legal corruption, but corruption still.
Yeah, I think MTG stole her thunder a little bit, because she announced her retirement, and then she comes out and says, "I'm just quitting." It's not necessarily retiring; she's quitting because she's just mad. But just shows that I'm just impressed that people, she could go there and just say, "I'm done." She's not going to play this game anymore. It'd be interesting to see what she does down the road as well, considering how she's exiting. Is she going to be somebody who changes party? Maybe she leaves the Republican Party and becomes an independent. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, I was disappointed because she's been very interesting lately, talking about the corruption of both parties, and talking back to Trump and Republicans in general. That she's kind of like realizing that the establishment side of both parties are not neither side is actually on the side of the working people. So it's almost like she had this big epiphany lately, but then it ends up with her leaving. I would have wished her to stay and keep shaking it up, but I guess it's hard to be part of you're part of the party when everyone else is part of the establishment. Everyone's is mad at you for calling out their negatives. I guess that makes it a hostile environment to be in. But we need people like that. We need people that are going to stand up to the establishment, stand up to the status quo, and really show like, hey, you said XYZ, but you're not doing XYZ. Like it's almost black and white. I know there's a lot of variables to politics, but there's a lot there. But yeah, so Marjorie Taylor is going to be out, and then we're actually talking to a representative that's going to be running in that special election. They're going to run as independent. What's his full name? Rush.
It's Rob Rush. I keep wanting to say Kawasaki because it's got a K in there, but it's not. It's like, my tongue's so tight right now; I just can't get it out.
Yeah, names are never my strength, but I'm pulling up.
I gotta hear it pronounced like 5 times before it gets stuck in my brain, especially if it's something I've never heard before. I'm like,
So I got it. It's Rob Ruskowski. Is running in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. So we'll have more details in other future conversations. He'll actually be a guest on our show soon. But he's the independent. Kind of seeing him as, it's not official yet, but seeing him as kind of taking over the grassroots piece of what Marjorie Taylor Greene was about. They don't have the same alignment on policies, but he might end up being the more anti-establishment candidate on both sides. It sounds like the Republican replacing Marjorie is going to be another status quo politician. The Democrat sounds like it's going to be a status quo politician. So he's the only like outsider, like non-status quo candidate. But we'll see. It's not official yet. We need to do our own research. But it'll be interesting where it goes with Marjorie Taylor Greene and all that.
yeah. I was gonna say that kind of flows over. Oh, I heard a bunch of
Yeah, I don't know. That's good.
Echoing on my side.
You're good.
It seems like I've gone away now. Scared myself for a minute. But that flows into the thing I saw on Facebook posted by Anomaly. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy on Facebook. I'm pretty sure he's on like Instagram and stuff too. It was just a meme that he put, and it was talking about like basically, since 1997, still like even then Biden was older than that. So it's just highlights that we've had just really old presidents for the last good chunk of time, and that just seems really awkward to me that we haven't been able to get somebody younger in there. And even the one person who was younger, who had a lot of potential and hope for people, was Barack Obama. And I don't think he didn't quite get whatever, like he didn't produce what everybody thought was going to come from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, in general, like you have to think that first of all, somebody at like they're at that boomer, they're at the oldest generation of who's alive right now, and like and that's fine for some of the presidents to be there, but like every single one back to back is bad, because it's also like they don't totally understand how the world has changed. They don't know what it's like growing up with digital media and like the internet. Like we live in such a different world, and a lot of that you can't possibly grasp at if you haven't lived it yourself until a much older age. And then like some boomers, my dad's pretty tech savvy as a boomer, but my mom's horribly the opposite, barely can do a Google search. um so it's very limiting. You need to be like part of the world that you're ruling, and it feels just like you're the world has changed since they've like kind of lived in it in like a average person kind of sense. um so yeah, those numbers are bad. There's other numbers, like I don't know if it probably still is, like the medium age in Congress was like 70 years old or something. There's it's boils down to, it's the old guard. It's not even bad. It's not, like they're not. It's not that they're like proactively making sure a certain age is there. The situation is those that have been in power for the last decades are remaining in power for indefinitely. Like that's really what it means. Is like they're not like purposely, oh wait, no, you're too young. It's just that those that those that have kept themselves in power have been staying in power forever, and they're not giving a chance for younger generations to take hold. So that's
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, good.
and that's like one place where there's really not like I don't want to say a barrier, but they do have an age limit for when you can run for president, but it's actually quite young. I think it's like 35. That's pretty young to think. I would be amazed if we ever actually got a president that was in his 30s or in their 30s. Like that would be amazing just to see what they could do, because then they actually have like the experience of age, but also knowing what looking for the future and having hope for growth, and knowing that I'm going to be around for a lot longer, so I better make it work long term. Because some of these people, like if I'm 78 and I'm president, I'm like, whatever, I'm out the door anyways. I'm not going to be here much longer, so it doesn't matter if I start World War III.
Yeah, actually, so that's a great point too. That there's definitely a psychology there that like if you're that age, the stakes are not the same for you. That you're only gonna live X amount of years left. Like so, climate change isn't as existential of a threat to them. The way AI is gonna take over jobs and automation, like they're not anything past like the next 10 years is beyond something that they really care that much about. Where like a millennial or Gen Z is like, yo, I got decades left of my life, hopefully. But so those concerns are real to us because we know we're gonna live through them. So there's totally a factor in that. There's a movie I watched recently, and just to skip over the point of just to get to the point is they they made a joke in it that it was set in the future and they fixed climate change or something, and they're like, the fact that we like we extended age made those that are in power like dealt with climate change immediately after their life was extended. So like now that you can live to like 150, whoop, now then overnight now they care about climate change and they dealt with it. Like, so it's like something like that.
Yeah, because something 50 years down the road actually might, you might be living in. So you're
Yeah.
like, oh, better do something about that.
Yeah. So it's like literally like if we extended the life of those in power, that would get them to care about our same stakes a little bit more. But
And
obviously
I
that's
think, long term in our future political system, that might be something we want to, at least put to the people, because should there be an age limit on at least running for president? And, I don't know if we want to worry about like senators and them, but president's a pretty like, the top job. If there's an age limit to run, there should be, a cap of this is it. Because, let's say we elect somebody who's 96, that's just insane. Like, to think that they're going to have 4 good years. And we've seen that already with previous presidents, like where, they get elected and they're somewhat coherent, or at least, people don't think they're losing it. But halfway through, they're like, okay, this person can't even wipe their own ass. That's a very dangerous spot. Like
yeah.
we shouldn't want to be in that spot. We should prevent that, because that just makes us weak in general.
Yeah, well,
and then it causes more distrust because you don't trust who's running the country. That's the biggest thing with like Biden right now, like with the pardons and stuff like that. People are like, did he even know what was going on? Can they prove that? And even if they do prove it, are we going to believe it?
Yeah. No, I mean that's such a huge point. Like the cognitive decline of somebody at that age. So that this is like the age limit kind of thing. That's like totally up to America. We're not. We wouldn't as think. We're not going to push a certain side, but we're gonna make people think, and then we want to empower America to actually have the ability to make that decision themselves, and not just let those already in power make that decision. But yeah, like what you're saying, Carrie, that makes total sense. Of like, there's that cognitive decline, and then the way politics is right now, lack of trust, lack of transparency. We know for a fact that happened with Biden, that like as his cognitive decline happened, his party hides that stuff to play the game of politics. You want to make sure it looks like you have a strong leader, and like they hid it through the whole primary until like, oh, all of a sudden we just realized that he shouldn't run, and we're gonna unilaterally anoint Harris. But like, so it's dangerous, especially in today's world of like lack of transparency and stuff, that like the party's gonna hide that stuff, and then like they're saying that Trump has those kinds of signs, and like you never can trust it, because the other side's gonna be biased and show cognitive decline when it might not be there, and then the reverse is true on the party that aligns with them. They're gonna hide anything like that. And so it's like, yeah, we just need like a certain age, a certain number makes sense of like, when is there like almost guaranteed a cognitive decline? Like, come on, like mid 70s, like most people are not going to be totally, tip top shape in their thinking process.
Yeah, I wonder if there an age limit for like your driver's license that's connected to that. If you can't get a driver's license, you can't run for governor or run for office, because you don't have the mental capacity to drive a car.
Yeah, I mean that's its
But
own
it also,
debate.
and like I was saying, like you said, it just becomes a weapon too. So if we have those kind of limits, we won't have this back and forth arguing. Because I could see that having been a bigger weapon if Harris had started from the beginning, like campaigning, and not just been like thrown in there last minute. She would have more time. That would have been her big thing. Is, oh, he's too old, because herself is not anywhere close to his age.
Right. Yeah, so to your point, like doing it as a blanket thing, so it's not a one side versus the other, like using it to their advantage or disadvantage or whatever. So again, that's something that like us as Think, we're not drawing a line on it. It's just something that we want Americans to be able to think about and actually have control of these answers. Because right now, our biggest thing is that Americans are not being represented right now. So even if 90% of America says, yes, there should be age limits, it's not going to be up to us. It's going to be those already in power. They're not going to care that 90% of us want something. If it affects them, they're not going to push it. Something like that, I bet there's enough like they would if a huge pressure was on there, I think they would pass that. It's not like term limits on Congress, they would never pass that because that's putting a limit on themselves. But like age on the president, everyone that's not planning to become president might not be so biased on that idea. I don't know. But bottom line is, it's not fair that right now it's up to our bias, those that are already in power, that have a bias to stay in power, and not your choice as the American citizens. And that's part of what we're changing to build this next stage of democracy. So let me do a little reset here. So I see some new people joining in on our site. So we're streaming right now on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. This is our Think Tank Live show, and we're Futures Now Coalition. We're building tools to empower Americans for the future. It starts with our coordination hub, which is launching within the next couple weeks. To latest be the beginning of January. And the goal of that is to just really coordinate citizens across political beliefs, different reforms, different parties, within the two party, outside the two party. And we're just building different tools to just different ways to build consensuses. Where does America stand on different issues? Tying together like trusted journalists, trusted candidates, people that are more grassroots. Ultimately, the goal is to move towards candidates that actually represent us, and that don't take big money donations and special interests and conflicts of interest like that. And so the coordination hub is a major new step for us, moving into like basically our phase 2 of existing as an organization. And then the end game is to build digital democracy, which is the future home for America's democracy. And that's going to be a one-stop shop that showcases all politicians equally, regardless of who's funding, how much money they can raise. And the idea is to give make sure every candidate is seen. So they don't need to raise millions of dollars. Right now, candidates have to have big donors and special interests because they need millions of dollars just to be seen. But if we build a one standardized system that's owned by the citizens, not owned by the parties, not owned by us at Think, and not owned by big tech, but owned by the people, and it showcases everyone, it completely flips the system upside down. It makes it way easier for candidates to run, show themselves. What do they actually stand for? Less tempting to take the bribe money to be able to be seen. They'll be connected directly to you with less effort. So it makes it more user-friendly for you as citizens. It makes it much easier for the politicians. So that's the ultimate goal. If we play our cards right with the coordination hub launching, we should start seeing some of these features by the midterm elections, and then a ton of features by the general election. That's all going to depend on the amount of people power we could build with y'all, all of you. So check out our website, futures.org. At the bottom, you can join our newsletter, so you'll get an announcement when the app officially launches. So it should be within the next couple weeks, definitely by the first week of January. A lot of it's gonna be a huge milestone for us, like our biggest milestone forward since we became an organization about 3 years ago. But anyway, yeah. So and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Help us build that people power. It'll become clearer and clearer why that helps all of us to gain this traction. Truly building, like, our number one mission is to build a more direct democracy, put you in the driver's seat for politics, help give you the tools to shape the future of politics. We can't just trust those already in power to fix the system. They're not going to do it. It's been, it's shown time and time again. It needs to comes from us as the people. We can do it. We just need to get a little bit more on the same page, which is what these coordination tools are going to be all about. So like, share, follow, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. So anyway, going back to go ahead, Carrie.
I was gonna say that leads me into the next thing I brought to this live today. I've been actively participating in, my own local elections and doing what Fink suggests. Like, I have a candidate that I like, so I stalk his Facebook page and like and comment and do things on his page. And something he posted I think it was already a couple days ago, but it led me to the Goldwater Institute, which is based here in Arizona. And, there's conservative, libertarian leaning think tank thing or, organization, but they focus on like limited government, transparency. And he linked to an article that was talking about like all the money that Tucson and Phoenix have spent on the homeless crisis. And so it's like a double fold thing here because it's about transparency. Homeless crisis is not just in Tucson, it's everywhere. Like it's crazy. And I'm sure that the type of money that's being spent, and I want to say wasted because it's fraud. It's crazy. Like they were saying that they paid 3 times the amount for hotel rooms for when they had were having the migrants here and housing them and stuff like that. It's like, why is this happening so much but not being put out in the public? So like I just wanted to highlight like the Goldwater Institute, that they exist. We should be listening, paying attention to what they're putting out. And there might be other organizations like that. I would love to hear about what other local places, that you have that's based in your state. Share it with us so that way we can use it for information and also put it in our resources for other voters to use, because just having this information available, like we kind of know it, but to have them actually break it down, do that research, because I'm never going to be able to research it. I'm not going to be able to go get their, all the money and the receipts that they paid for things and break all that down. So I just appreciate that it exists. And I was happy that I found it in my doing my micro volunteering or micro actions throughout my day.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, so I like that. So as she's saying to everyone listening, if you want to send a comment about any resources that you guys like, or email, DM, any way to reach out to us. We're collecting resources to share to everyone of like just anything that we could create to create more transparency in government. There's certain sites like Open Secrets that shows who's funding campaigns. There's Unusual Whales that shows the insider trading of candidates. So there's like a lot of good websites that bring transparency. Some are more local based, some are national based. All are important. So it's good for you guys to let us know, and also that's actually going to be part of the hub that we're releasing, the Digital Politics Hub, Coordination Hub. Actually, Carrie, this actually brought me an idea. We should actually add a section, not just the resources that we're going to offer citizens, but then what we should do a section where people can recommend resources, the way we're going to do it with journalists and candidates and stuff. Maybe it's that same page that you could, not only can you like recommend us a journalist that you trust, but also like resources that you trust. So we'll talk about that later. But just gave me an idea to intertwine that into the hub.
Yeah. But like I said, just when you read these type of articles and you see these numbers, like they're saying homelessness rose 92% in Phoenix between 2018 and 2023. 92%. That's like a lot. And I wonder how many of those people were, from out of town, or, how they broke down that number. But it's just seeing these numbers on paper, it's baffling. And then to see the numbers and the amount of money that's spent, because they actually do break down like which organizations got so much money. Sometimes you're wondering, you're like, well, what do they even do with it? And they were saying that there's not enough transparency, because even though they can get like how much, this organization was paid, they can't get a breakdown of where that money went. And I feel like we need to push more for that, especially when it comes to taxpayer money. If you want to be loosey-goosey with money, do that with private money, money that you take out of your own pocket and you hand out with your free will. But if you're taking my tax money, I feel like every, nickel and dime should be really laid out for us so we can see where it goes and like, is it actually doing anything? They're showing all the money that they've thrown, and it's like, well, it hasn't really improved anything. So, but then they just keep throwing more money at it. Like that's going to solve the problem. And that seems to be government's answer to everything, is throw more money at it.
Yeah. So those are great points. So the 2 points that it makes me think of, so one is that, yeah, definitely the transparency thing. Like part of what we want to build first with the coordination hub and then digital democracy is like, forcing this transparency out in the open, make it aware, make sure citizens are aware of these the spending. But whether it's tax money or even just donations. It's such a shame. Like, there's so many people that donate to what they think is a good charity, and then it turns out like something like 70-80% of that money is just paying the employees of that charity, and that only like 20-30% of the money actually goes to help that situation. So
And it's not just paying employees, it's in paying employees who are like high level person who sits at a
yeah,
desk and goes, yes, like
yeah,
I earned $1 million right now,
yeah,
while the people who are doing the actual work get paid pennies on the dollar.
yeah,
That's the biggest problem. I wouldn't even worry about that if those
yeah,
people who are getting the big paychecks actually did something that got
mhm,
results, as
yeah.
opposed to just sitting behind a desk and ta-da, I made money.
Yeah. Yeah. So to that point, like, so it's not it's whether it's tax dollars or just charity donations, that transparency and just knowing that that's something you should look at is important. Because, like, so imagine you want to donate to a cause like homelessness, and then there's tens of organizations that claim to do these things. But wouldn't it be nice that you're like, if I give $10 to this organization, $7 of that $10 is just going to administrative fees and not actually helping the homeless, where this other organization actually, maybe it's the opposite, 70% is going to help the homeless. And, like, so not only is it just like it holds them accountable, but then also adds a new form of competition. That shouldn't the charities strive to have as much as be as efficient as possible and streamline things as much as possible? Where right now, if all they care about is how much money is coming into the organization, even though they're just hoarding most of the money, it still looks good. Oh, we raised 10 million. That other organization only raised 5 million. Yeah, but more of that money actually went to help homeless in that organization. So in essence, that other organization went to better use. So if that was more of a factor, if it was easier to tell, like, that would be a huge variable. So these are the kind of transparencies that we're fighting for. Would change so many things. They can't be held accountable if it's not transparent and not easily transparent to, like, know this information. But the moment people see this information, you better believe they would work on fixing their numbers.
Yeah, like from what we learned or what I learned in this article, the current holder of that Senate seat, I can't remember her last name, but she was the one who was like, swear her in things when they in Congress, the one who was waiting to get sworn in because the government was shut down. She actually approved the 3 times, amount for like the hotel rooms for her. She was on the board of some organization or something that like approved this spending. And having this information out there and now public, it's like I would love for somebody to confront her with this and like explain why we paid, you know, 3 times the amount for those rooms when we could have paid, the regular amount. Like why? I would just like to hear somebody try to explain that away just to see where it goes. Because there shouldn't, to my mind, there's no reasonable explanation for that other than somebody's lining their pockets. Like the hotel probably got the normal rate, and then 2 other people got money in their pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's how a lot of these kinds of things works. That there's always like little secret ways that money goes to stuff that the public does not know about. Yeah. So that's why, like, our core thing is all about transparency. That's why trust is at an all-time low in modern history, and like all these problems is because there's very little transparency, and there's like scumbag things going on, and you don't know exactly who's doing it, who's not doing it. So these are all the kind of things that we want to structure out and make it more visible and easily accessible. Not just transparency, but accessible transparency. So it's like, it's one thing if, like, hey, all our numbers are in this like 10,000 page book of like crazy numbers that you can never figure out. Like, okay, that's transparent, but it's not accessible. So to me, that's basically useless. So we need accessible transparency. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's like if it's all in Chinese, it's not going to do us
yeah,
any good.
right, right,
But then it also shows a failure of like our local media.
yeah,
Nobody has
yeah,
approached her with this. The other candidate, Daniel Gutierrez, there, like that's my guy. He's a Republican. I feel like he's not getting, the support from the Republican Party because that seat has been held by a Democrat for many years. So they probably don't. They're like, it's not worth the fight. It's not worth putting in the effort. But that sucks for him because he's not getting the support he needs from his party. And he, to me, feels like a very down-serving candidate because, like, he actually is like producing, like, giving you his actual plans as opposed to just saying, I'm going to fix homelessness. Well, here's my actual plan of what I want to do. I mean, it may not be, everything that's going to fix it, but at least it's a step in the right direction.
Mhm.
And that's, like I said, failure of our local media for not approaching her or her people about this information and just saying, explain this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much. I mean, people are just overwhelmed. This is just one example in like a million examples of what's going on today, and it's like there's just too much to sort out. But to your point, I mean, that's the one, like, it's not the citizens, like there's only so much citizens can handle right now, but you're right about journalists, like especially local journalists, should be the kind of thing that they should be on top of like, squeezing these kinds of questions and answers out. And unfortunately, like, not all local media is establishment media, but a lot is. I think it's even most that they're actually bought by like the main six companies. And neither side wants to open up like all the legal corruption, the way it's like kind of like circumvents, like it's technically legal. They don't want to uncover that too much because both sides do it, and like so they don't want to make it too well known. When illegal corruption happens, yeah, they let it blow up and whatnot. But legal corruption like this, of like, technically it's legal, it just shouldn't be, and like, it's shady, and like, that they both sides kind of like keep that on the down low, unfortunately, major unfortunately. um but yeah, so these situations, like, again, like there's too many of these things going on for like an average person to follow, and that's why, again, we want to systematize these different situations, like, how can we make this easily accessible, easily, easy to know this information. It might be based on like knowing what your like people that are related to just your district, or it might be certain types of information that you're interested in. Different ways to sort out these details, for average Americans, that it's not overwhelming. Um, but yeah, so as we start coming towards the end here, anything else in particular you wanna bring up, Carrie?
I know that's all I brought today.
Cool.
Like I said, I just kind of scroll through and things that pop in up in front of me. I'm like, oh, this would be great to talk about because I would love to hear, like I said, I would love to hear about other people who have discovered something like I just discovered in their area
Yeah.
because I wasn't necessarily trying to look for it and it just happened to come about because I was, also trying to support a candidate I like. So I'm sure
Yeah.
other people have similar situations.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, this keeps adding more like features that I want to throw into our coordination hub. Because even like, if citizens are finding this information, and then we're gonna make it more accessible to share it, like within the digital politics hub. Um, so as you're every time you're talking about like, oh, let us know XYZ, I'm thinking about other ways that we could scale it up and like in mass be able to share this information with as many people as possible. So the digital politics hub will play its part in that once it's launched. So I'm super excited about launching that, again, by the end of the month or early beginning of next month. But anyway, so that's the Digital Politics Hub. So we're launching that in the next couple of weeks. Again, definitely check us out at futureis.org. Go to the bottom, to join our newsletter so you get notified when the Digital Politics app launches. Anywhere between, it's either by the end, probably by the end of this month, but definitely within the first week of January is the latest. And either way, check us out on our website, futureis.org. You can check out all our socials. Futureis.org, all one word, is our handle. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, a couple others. They're also all on our website. So check those things out. Just hitting a major new milestone by the end of the month. We're busy with our team, just working on these last pieces, the Digital Politics Hub. We have some big explainers that kind of just zoom out and just show you the whole plan from like kind of top to bottom in like a one page kind of a thing of how each step goes, of like how we're empowering everyone coming up in the coordination phase and with this digital politics hub, and then also what the future holds with the digital democracy platform itself. um, so we have offerings basically of what happens like now, as well as what happens in the near future with digital democracy. So a lot of great new additions and changes coming. So keep tabs with us, follow us, share. We'll be on tomorrow as well. We're on every Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So we'll be back tomorrow. And then even that, we're gonna start getting ahead where we plan out our topics a couple weeks in advance. So that's coming very soon.
And also want to highlight, we are going to start having guests soon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look forward to that.
Yeah. So we're gonna have
And that will be either Thursday or Friday.
yeah, Thursdays or Fridays. Yeah, we're gonna have America's Main Street Party later on this kind of middle of the month, and then Rush, the Congress candidate, that's gonna that's running in Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat. So yeah, guests coming. So a lot of big changes, a lot of big upgrades that we're like kind of in the middle of transitioning throughout the month. But then by the end of this month and the beginning of January, we'll be in our new phase and ready to rock with all of you, and empower you guys with the coordination hub. It really allows more of a two-way relationship with you guys, that you guys can recommend different politicians, different journalists. You can recommend different resources, recommend or highlight different events that are happening that you want more Americans to know about, like corruption going on. And it's all around transparency and true representation. It's not about taking sides, left versus right. It's all about being for the people and for true transparency and true representation. So with that, we will bid you for farewell. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys.